but now I can't hear it.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. What's this? I love when they go ahead and change things up on us. My. Oh, we are live. Look at that. Didn't know we are live already. Here I am squinting, trying to read something, and my little live button has already been hit. Anyway, welcome, everybody. It's Sunday night, and I know there may be some of you here watching with us live, and a handful of you may not because, well, I didn't plan this out so well as today is the Super Bowl. So if you're not with us tonight, hopefully you'll catch this on the replay. We are playing live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And in just a second, I'm going to make sure we are streaming there. Most importantly, I'm going to make sure we're on Facebook. And then I'm going to introduce myself. And then, of course, introduce my guest for the day. A little frazzled sometimes. Yeah, we get frazzled. Sometimes those things happen based on whatever's going on behind the scenes. So here we are. And I know that maybe some of you here watch. So we are on Facebook, and I'm just going to go ahead and share it out. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, just hit that thumbs up button. And if you have not subscribed to my page, please do me a favor and go ahead and do so. It's always very appreciated when you are following me and staying connected. All right. So there we have it. Like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of people who's going to be watching the Super Bowl at this point in time, and that's all good. And I'm going to go ahead and bring my guest on for tonight. Before we do, let me introduce myself. Reverend Joanne Angel Barry Cologne. I am the founder of Holistic Fitness and Why. I'm your certified holistic personal trainer, holistic integrated teacher, Reiki master, medical astrologer, master of numerology, card creator, and card reader. And there's more to me, but we'll leave it there for now. And as usual, here I am on a Sunday night. Well, not so usual. Tonight, I am going to be spotlighting the 5th guest speaker of the Cosmic Evolution Summit. Hopefully, if you had a chance to check out the first 4, and after tonight, there's one more to go. And please put on your calendar, set your alarm clock, whatever you need to do for February 16th, when all of the speakers will be coming together from February 16th, on February 16th, from 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time through 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And each one of them who will be speaking will be bringing very insightful information to you regarding all different things. We have a little scene going on where we have trauma recovery, then we have feng shui, and then homes are for living, and then we're moving into some intuition and astrology. So it's an interesting day, a day of insightfulness from the mind, the body, and right into the spirits. So go ahead, circle your calendar for February 16th from 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be a full day. Of course, there are 30-minute breaks in between each speaker to give every one of us an opportunity to sort of get up and stretch our legs and do whatever we need to do behind the scenes. So all that being said, I'm going to bring my guest speaker on for tonight, who I'm spotlighting, Miss Tammi Moses. She's going to introduce herself because I'm often experiencing that the person themselves can introduce themselves so much better than I can. So let's bring her on stage. Hello, Miss Tammi.
Hi, Joanne. How are you?
I'm doing well. And before you even introduce yourself, I'd like to know and let the audience know that Tammi and I did not plan on wearing red. It just happened that way. Isn't that amazing? I love it when we end up wearing the same colors. So, Tammi, introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tammi Moses, and I am the Chief Encouragement Officer at Homes Are for Living, also known as the Hoarding Solution. And I focus on the issue of hoarding because of my own experiences growing up in that environment, as well as currently dealing with a parent that has a hoarding issue that is elderly. And I talk about this because I want people to feel less isolated. And that's something a lot of people uh, feel when they're in a caregiving role, no matter where you are on that caregiving spectrum. And so my website is thehoardingsolution.com, and I'm happy to be here today to talk more with Joanne and just help people understand who I am, why I talk about what I do, and hopefully that will result in people feeling like there is a connection and that they are not alone. And just, I'm glad to be here and I'm glad to be able to share.
All right. I just have one more person to tag in. I thought I was going to do it in the time that Tammy was introducing herself, but sometimes things don't work out that way. All right.
Yeah.
And as mentioned, today I am here to spotlight Tammi Moses in regards so you all can get to know her personally and professionally. And it was so interesting because as I work with each one of the speakers in regards to spotlighting, I sit and connect with spirit to find out what questions I'm going to be asking so I can get to know them on a deeper level, personally and professionally. And Tammy and I spend a lot of time behind the scenes every other week together. So this one was a little difficult in reference to finding the right questions to ask. I sat with spirit all day and I asked spirit just to bring me the right questions to ask. And well, after I wrote them down, I said, well, they seem like they're going to be fun questions, and that I'm going to get to learn more about Tammy on a personal level than I already know. When you feel like you know someone and speak to them regularly, it's like, what more can I possibly know? And there's a whole lot more, but I wanted to keep it interesting. So I'm going to dive right in, and we're going to have fun in this give and take 30 minutes of our conversation. We did get started a little late, and we're going to blame it on technology because that's exactly what happened. Technology got in the way, as it usually does. No worries though. It's all good. As long as Tammy doesn't have anywhere to run to when we get past that 7:30 mark and she's okay with staying with us a little longer, we're going to stay here a little longer just to get all of the 30 minutes in. We ready, Tammy?
I'm ready and I'm not running because we have snow.
Yes, yes. I saw your picture. Before I even dive into the questions, Tammy posted a beautiful, I think it was a video today on the snow. You in your backyard.
In our front field, yes.
What a scenery that is. Oh my God. I was like, wow, it's a beautiful Christmas card. So maybe you took a picture of it and maybe that will be your Christmas picture for 2025. Who knows? Great picture though. Great scenery, great video. I loved it. So here we go. Tammy, what is your morning routine and what does it look like?
Well, yeah, sometimes it does depend on the day, but in general, I don't rush in the morning, and I usually will have a cup of coffee. Usually I'm planning my day with my boyfriend. We're having that morning conversation of what are we trying to get accomplished today. And I now work into my morning routine more journaling and more focus on that mental process, which I can honestly say over these last few months, I've kind of gotten away from that. So it's helping me to refocus um, my inner thoughts. And that also is helping me to kind of develop. I'm a list maker. Now I'm trying to be a list completer. And so that's kind of where that's stemming from. And usually I'm feeding the cat and the dog. Sometimes I'm going to let our other critters out, geese and chickens primarily. And so I do get outside sometimes in the morning, usually not till later in the day. But I'm really trying to incorporate that peaceful start to the day. And because there's a lot of other things going on in my life that aren't as peaceful. So that is it's kind of a slow start, but that writing, that journaling, that connecting with internally really helps me. And I usually pull a chakra and this morning mine was heart and green. So it just helps me kind of. And I thought, just a side note, that was interesting that it's about healing, it's about growth, and it's about relationships and connections. So that just kind of helps me have a focus for my day.
I love that. I love that. And I took a little note here, the quote the statement you made, I'm going to make it a quote. You're a list maker and learning to be a list completer. And I think that's so amazing because so many of us write out lists of things that we need to do. And we get so caught up in all the to-dos that we don't often complete everything on the list. And that's mostly because we put too many things on the list. Being an
Yes.
overachiever sometimes, where it's like, oh, I can do all of this, and then realizing like, maybe not. But I love that. I love that. And I also love the fact that you pull a card. And I'm assuming the card that you're pulling is from the card. What card are you pulling from? What deck are you pulling from? Excuse me.
Well, I have my chakras written on little piece of paper. And
Yes, that's
so
right.
I just pull out one, but I also have something called a relax deck, and it has a lot of different scenery pictures on there. But like this morning, mine was pine branches, and
Very pretty.
it's about, so in like the Japanese, I like those cards because they bring up different parts of different places of the world, basically, and what it means. And basically, it's longevity and fortitude and silence, and it's about establishing your roots so that no matter how far away you grow, you still have that core. Which in some ways I find it a little bit humorous, because growing up, all I wanted to do was get away from my roots and not necessarily be connected to them. And so, but I am much more in tune with it now, much more. Sometimes I'm grateful for my experiences. I can't say that all the time, but it's a relaxed deck. And I also have another one, like another 101 Reasons to Be Happy, and which has like a quote or something like that. And I'm thinking, man, I'm really getting extreme into this, but some of it I'm rediscovering. I have these materials since I've unpacked. I have another book called Flashpoints for Achievers, and it asks you a daily thing, like, what are your daily goals? What are you? And so I've actually had that book since 2015. I think that's the first time I wrote in that book. And it's really interesting to me to go back and reflect on some of those things I wrote almost 10 years ago. And some of it's a recurring theme, and some of it's like, oh, that's the lesson I was trying to learn then. So,
Oh, nice. Yes. Yes. I love all that you share and how the tools that we do have, how they are so healing for us. Everything you've just mentioned in reference to like the messages you get from your cards and the images that show up from the cards is all healing. We're going to move into the next question. And the next one is, what is the one thing that is non-negotiable for you? So if you have, whatever it is, if you had to not do something and you had to do, what's that one thing that's non-negotiable? You're not changing it for nothing. You're not eliminating it. You're not doing it. What is that one thing?
so last summer I had a health issue, and I attribute a lot of that to being dehydrated. And it was hot. It was the summer, all those things. But now I get up in the morning and I drink about 20 ounces of water immediately, 16 to 20 ounces. And if for some reason I don't do it, I go back and I do it. And my goal is to have that before I have a cup of coffee, which we know can be dehydrating. So I'm wandering around in my pajamas with my cup of water till I finish it, because I just don't want to go through that level of pain again.
Make sure, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And some new studies adding to your water, if you wish to, is a little either Celtic salt or Himalayan salt, where you can, the Himalayan salt you put right on the tip of your tongue as you're drinking your water. The Celtic salt you put in your water, and the reason for that is it actually helps you stay more hydrated
Hmm.
than just drinking the water by itself. So just a little tip.
A lot of times I squeeze lime or lemon into it, and I also try to carry this around, and this is probably good another 24 ounces or so of water, and I put ice in it. I know people say don't use ice or do or don't or what. I'm like, whatever I need to do to get the water down is what I'm going to do. So,
Yeah, yeah. And nowadays, there's so many different studies in reference to the do's and don'ts that one of the things I'm starting to really work with is more of my intuition. What does my intuition tell me to do in the moment? Is it asking for the warm water or is it asking for the cold water? Because I believe the person that knows your body the best is you. Based on all the studies that are out there, all the different research that's out there, the person that knows your body the best is you. So moving on to that, which I think we sort of answered this question sort of indirectly, but we're going to ask it and see if we can get a direct answer, which is how do you decrease your stress level?
well, I find getting outside in nature, taking a walk, going to the beach, which I don't live that far from the beach, but I don't get there that often. But just getting outside, movement. I mean, a couple days ago, I built a snowman, and I was
Oh, how
like,
fun!
is this my cardio? Is this what is this?" But I just felt stretched out and
It's your
relaxed after
play.
that.
It's your play, is what that was. It's your play.
But that helps me a lot to get outside. I lately have been playing solitaire, which I'm like, why am I playing this? But there's kind of a downtime in that where I am thinking, but I'm not super engaged. Um, I write to de-stress. I will watch cute videos, kitties, puppies, kids doing cute things like just as a de-stressor and to bring some of that joy and that laughter and even watching my cat or interacting with the dog. Like this morning, the cat, anyway, I gave him catnip and he rolled up into this little pan. I was like, I can't believe this 20-pounder cat is squashed into this pan, but he was. Um, so just funny. I feel like I look for the beauty, but I also look for the humor. And I've read a lot that say things that say humor is a coping mechanism, and I do believe that that is true. But I also feel like I think I read something yesterday that laughter is a necessity. It's like you really have to find that humor um, to get through your day and get through life. And it's something that my brother really reminded me of when I was growing up. He was in a wheelchair, but he was always looking for funny, humorous things. There, I still quote some of the comedians that, you know, my brother's not here anymore on earth, but just there is a humor there. And my dad also had a pretty good sense of humor, growing up. So I think finding the humor, the beauty, and my boyfriend has been through a lot of things with me in the last 14 years. And so um, a lot of times just having a conversation or him pointing something out to me that I missed, it really does bring down my stress level. And it reminds me that not everything is as it appears.
Yes, yes. There's actually a study out, and I don't know the exact numbers, where they say children laugh pretty much all day. They laugh a lot more than adults do. And that as we become adults, we forget to laugh. So ideally, just like Tammy's saying, finding little things to make you laugh. Like I say to clients, and I've said this to Tammy as well, every single day, look for something to laugh about, because whatever we're focused on is what's going to come right in front of our face. So if you're literally saying, give me something to laugh about, you'll have something to laugh about. So it's a great way to decrease the stress level, because our endorphins will then be kicking in that state of happiness and laughter. Even though sometimes it could be laughter where you're laughing about something that it's my expression is the stupid funny. It's so damn stupid you have to laugh. It's so damn stupid you have to laugh. Sometimes look for the stupid funny. Because there's a lot of that going on right now. All you gotta do is really turn on your TV. There's a lot of stupid funny out there. If you want
And
some
a
laughter.
lot of times I just have to shut it off because it's like I can't laugh anymore.
Exactly. I like that. I like that. And it's so interesting because this is how I know when the person I'm talking with is in tune with me. Because my next question, Tammy sort of answered based on her adulthood. Let's find out what the answer is as her childhood, which is, Tammy, as a child, what was your favorite game to play and why?
Ooh, I have to pick one, huh?
Just one for now.
So I really enjoyed playing Scrabble when I was a little girl. And my mom is actually the person who taught me how to play Scrabble. And um, it was a time where I felt like I could connect with her. And I also think, I mean, obviously it's educational, right? You're spelling and you're learning new words and all that. But um, I think it made me a better student, and it helped me. I started reading, and I still read. That is another way I do reduce, or I don't know if I reduce stress, but I disconnect from things sometimes or reconnect with reading. But I still enjoy that game. I don't play it very often now, but um, it did feel like I was learning, and I still probably read obsessively now because of that. But anyway, yeah, I liked that game, and I guess I liked feeling smart when I could get good points or doubled word scores, things like that. And I think it did help me feel like I had a level of intelligence
Yes, I love that.
that I didn't get
Now,
that input from every place.
so yeah, so why not find it in the game now? When playing Scrabble as a child, that was a board game, correct?
Scrabble, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Now,
it's a
go ahead.
it's a board game, and it has little word tiles, and you basically have to spell words based on the tiles that you pull, or you can turn all your tiles in, or to pull some other letters. But you get stuck with something like a V or a W or an X, and you're like, what is this? So you learn that there's like two letter words that you can use. So I think it helps you look at the situation versus this is hopeless. You go, well, X-ray is a word.
Yes, X-ray is a word. Yes, and we. When you get
Yes.
those, the double words, or the Z. Like, if you ever have to come up with a word with the Z, it's like, oh my God. Yes, I love that. I love that. And nowadays we have, I think there's more of our board games that actually shows up on our phones now, because
Hmm.
there's so many people who play games on their phones that is Scrabble one of the games that show up on the phones now too?
I'm pretty sure that it does.
Okay.
I do more word searches, and I was obsessed with something called room design for a long time.
Well, I can't imagine why.
Yeah, but see, now that I'm in the house, which that's a whole other story. But now that we're in our house again, I don't spend as much time designing rooms.
There you go. I love that. All right, next question. And before I dive into the question, just want to say hi to everyone who's popping in to join us tonight, coming away maybe from the Super Bowl or just taking a break, whatever it is. But welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm here with Tammi Moses. She's one of our spotlights for the evening. She's the guest speaker speaker of the Cosmic Evolution Summit that's taking place on February 16th. I almost said September. Wow, I'm really far into 2025, aren't I? And at the end, we'll share what time she'll be speaking and the topic she will be speaking about as well. So hang in there with us right now. We're getting to know Tammi on a personal and professional level. Right now, it's been a lot of personal because I seem to know on a professional level very well. So maybe at some point I'll ask some professional questions. Moving in to our next question, which is, where would you like to travel to and why?
Well, I would like to go to Alaska, and my grandpa used to go there on fishing trips regularly, and I would love to see the glaciers and the bears and salmon. Like, I've always just had this desire to see Alaska, and my boyfriend has actually been there, and so he was actually able to identify some of the photographs I had of my grandpa's that I didn't know where they were taken in Alaska, and he did. But I've always wanted to go and just see that kind of the last frontier of the USA. That's how that feels to me. So I do like to travel. I can say that it has been greatly curtailed in the past few years for many of us, not just me. But that is a place I'd like to go. I'd also like to go to a little place called Alsace-Lorraine, which is between France and Germany, depending on what was happening in that region at the time. You may be either identified as French or German, and my great grandparents were from that area. So
I love that. I love that. I love when I ask people where they like to travel to. I'm not much of a traveler. I think that's probably more because I do a lot of traveling in my sleep from what I know. I travel to the other side of the world, other side meaning spirit side. So I think with all that traveling that I do, when I come back to Earth, I don't really need to travel. That may change down the road, who the hell knows. Anyway, next question for Tammi here is, and I think we know the answer to this one already. What is your favorite activity as an adult?
Well, personally, I really do like to travel. I like to explore, even if it's local to me. I like to explore new places, maybe rediscover old places. Um, my list of places to go and see and do is pretty long. So I would say traveling is probably one of my top things that I enjoy. It was a major incentive for me to go in the military right out of high school, and I did get to travel a lot. I was just thinking the other day of the places I've been, and I never would have been to those places had I not joined the military. So probably one of my favorite places that I visited was Bali. I went whitewater rafting there, and that was just a very cool experience. Also, I climbed Mount Fuji in Japan, and that was pretty cool. So I would say traveling, and then being able to share about it with other people is also a lot of fun, because you start learning about where other people have been, and just kind of that kindred spirit, where most of us have spent the night in an airport, just saying.
Love that. All right, my next question is sort of like a twofold question. The first part of the question is, and I'm going to give you all of it, and then you can answer it. What does balance mean for you, and how do you bring balance into your life?
Ooh, that's a good question. I was
And
listening
of all
to
the questions I asked her, that's the one she says is the good question. So go ahead, people.
Actually, it's really interesting you ask that, because I was just listening to a podcast yesterday about balance, finding balance. And the podcast host is Natalie Dawson, and she wrote a book called Start the Work. And that's probably been a big motivator for me to do some list completing in the last few weeks. But she made a really good point, which was balance looks different for everyone. Because if your goal is, like, say you're bringing something to market, right? And maybe for the next month, you've got to do 14-hour days to get it done, which means you're spending less time with your family or your loved ones. But you know that in, a month, this is going to decrease, and you'll be able to go back to, say, an 8-hour day, and you'll have more time to spend with your family or cooking or whatever it is you do. And I was like, oh, because every time I hear people talk about balance, it's like I'm supposed to be able to do it efficiently every day, all the time, and nothing's going to fall off my plate. And that's not my experience in life at all. It throws your sciatic nerve out, like you stress out. And so, like for a period of time, I was spending a couple hours every other day or so dealing with some things with my mom. And when that kind of shifted, the responsibility didn't end, but it shifted. I was like, oh, yes, I have a little more breathing room. And so I'm able to take a little more of that energy, not just time, but energy, and reallocate it to something else. And so, like, for example, I'm working on a book, right? We've talked about for a long time. And
yes, we have. And let's not put you on a spot like I did the last spotlighter.
Well, actually, I thought that was kind of interesting when you asked Linda that, because I was like, oh, that's a book I'd be interested in. And then I'm like, yeah, but what about your book that you haven't done?
So we're going to go there. We're going to put you on the spot. We're going to go there. We're going to pause that statement that you're about to make. And for those who are watching with us live on the replay, here's the putting Tammi on the spot. So I know Tammi has been writing this book for some time. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tammi, you actually have your manuscript done already. This is already done. It's not like you're in the writing. You're writing it out at this point. It's pretty much done. Maybe second proof of editing or whatever not, but it's pretty much done, right?
I would say it's still a pretty first rough draft, and I would call it a skeleton that needs some meat and potatoes.
Okay. All right. But the process of it is that it's already gone through the stages of it's been written. Now it's just really a matter of putting the next part to it. So the big question, as I like to do, because I've been told I do this really, really well, so I don't want to disappoint. The big question is holding you accountable to your book. We're in 2025. And what is your projection date to finish that book where it's published?
Well, I figured you would probably ask me that, and I really didn't have an answer.
What's that?
I really didn't have an answer. But I'm kind of when I'm thinking about it just now, and what comes to mind is like a September timeframe. Like it's out there by then, and it kind of feels like an appropriate time to release something like that, because that is when my dad was born in September. I have a cousin born in September, and my father actually passed away in September. But honestly, it was appropriate for his situation. So it's not necessarily a sad time for me. But it just feels like that is a good time to release or have something like that out there in the world.
So we're saying September of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you have a title for your book?
I do. I guess I'd say it's more of a working title, but it's something like There's No Room for Me Here, I think.
Oh, I like that title. I like that title. That's a great title, and that can go in so many different ways in reference to the way my brain is thinking. But we're gonna keep it there because you and I will talk about that behind the scenes in regards to the two different directions that can go into
Hmm.
based on your purpose of your book. So as you're saying, so again, as I say to everybody, I'm really good at holding people accountable to finishing up their projects because I hold myself accountable to finishing up projects. So we all know now, those who are watching with me live and watching on the replay, we know that Tammy will be producing a book by September 2025. So you can get ready to look forward to seeing that book. And because she does have me sitting on her shoulder, there's going to be a lot more to that book that meets the eye. And Tammy knows exactly what I mean because there's so many different platforms that I offer to authors to get them out there. So coming back to the question of balance, and I love what you brought up regarding the book you're reading or the podcast you're listening to, because that's the first time I heard that in reference to what you just said about a balance is different for everybody. And when we are working on projects, it's like, as Tammy's saying, I may be devoted in my time with this particular project now, which takes away something, the balance from something else. But that's a really great way of looking at that because then it eliminates the excess guilt that may show up for somebody who feels like, well, I really need to do this and I can't spend time here. And then having to go be apologetic to somebody and say, look, I'm really sorry I can't spend time with you while I'm working on this project. But I promise you, once the project's over, you'll have my undivided attention. And that's the balance of life. So I love that. Thank you, Tammy, for sharing that. That's just amazing. We're going to get into a little bit of her professional life here. Next question that I have for you, Tammy, is what is the one thing that you have learned in your adulthood that would have been that would have been helpful to you when you were 20?
I would say being aware that boundaries are actually a healthy thing, and it is not about controlling other people. It is about what you will allow and tolerate, and that is what is teaching people how to treat you. And so I think a better understanding of what who I was as a person, I could have developed that more if I had better boundaries. I think I spent a lot of time I know I spent a lot of time people pleasing, trying to not rock the boat, and a lot of that has to do with my upbringing. But and I enjoy peace now, but I also understand that you can't necessarily get to peace unless you go through some rough waters and some things. And I feel like I would have made, I don't know if I would say better, but different and possibly healthier decisions had I realized that no is a complete sentence. I don't have to make everybody happy because it's impossible because I'm not cheesecake. Um, and so you cannot keep everyone happy. And sometimes that means you have to choose you, even if that pisses other people off. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because not everyone around you has your best interest in mind. And so I really think you have to figure out what you are, what you're going after, and what you're and willing to tolerate and unwilling to tolerate. So I think the boundaries and the guilt, as you mentioned before, for not doing things with people, and like the guilt comes in also because you don't have a good boundary or a limit on what you will tolerate, basically. So, um, and I think it also spills over into how we treat other people because you, by you having a boundary, it gives other people permission to have a boundary. And I just think it's a healthy awareness to have.
I love that. So true to everything you just said. Love that. Next question. At what age did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Um, I'm not sure if I have grown up. Um,
She was going to say that.
but I would say it was probably my early 40s where I determined that. So I read this recently actually, and someone asked me what was my dream job, and I remember looking at them going, I don't, what is that? Like, I don't dream of coming to work every day and putting up with this. Like, this, what is a dream job? This isn't it. I can tell you that. Um, but once I embraced the fact that I I didn't fit a specific mold, that I was always looking for the next thing, a different thing. I wanted to connect with people. I understand we need systems and processes, but I also understand that we are humans. And I feel like a lot of our agencies and entities forget that we are human beings first, and all the other stuff is there, but we're still human beings. And so I believe my early 40s was around the time when I realized that I really wanted to make an impact. And I think, um, I don't know that that's my dream job, but I think that was my dream. My desire was to make a positive impact. Um, and that's partly how I started to talk about hoarding issues, is because I saw what a negative impact that had, and that there's limited resources. It's not connected. There's so many things going on in those situations for the person that hoards, as well as family and neighbors and communities and churches. Like, there's just this huge pot of stew, if you will, and there's just a lot of negative in there inherently. But even before I started a business or um, doing any of that, I had good connections with people, and that's where I found a lot of joy, was helping someone who didn't understand a complicated rule or law. I worked for a state agency for 12 and a half years, and there was a lot of joy in breaking down ridiculousness, sometimes stupid funny, the way we write things. Um, and to be able to explain to someone that this is what is actually happening, or this is what it really means. Here, let's make it simple so everyone understands. There was just a lot of joy for me personally to see that aha moment for someone, go, oh, this isn't as hard as I thought, or oh, this is really ridiculous, I can just let it go, or whatever it is. And I find the same thing with people with too much stuff. There is a mental piece to this, that you have to be willing to say, oh, I don't have to, oh, look, I can use this room now. And so for me, that similarity was there. Like, there was this light bulb moment where they're like, oh, I can do this different. And so, anyway, long answer to your question, but I think
It's all good. I got the answer though. Yes. Yes. My final question is, what is one word? Well, it's not my final question, but it's the final question. What is one word you would like to leave the audience tonight with?
so. Simplification. Simplify. Make your life easier for you to manage, whatever that looks like for you. And well, for an example for me lately is I'm filing, shredding, burning, tossing, organizing what remains, and just simplifying it so that I don't have to say, well, it's in this pile in that room. Like, most of my rooms don't have a lot of piles in general, but um, it's annoying to me when I can't find something. So without a lot of hunting and digging, and which is hard when you're moving in, and like we're still moving in, and I'm discovering stuff all the time. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know I moved that. Why did I? But simplifying it is just, it's dishes. I have an ebook about start with the kitchen sink. While I'm trying to retake my own advice, and I want to see the sink before I go to bed, whatever that means.
There you
And
go.
for me, that's simple. I don't have to try to fill a coffee pot over the dishes. I don't have to get irritated because there's clutter in there. And for me, that is just really about, I guess, simplifying my environment. But I think mentally we have to do that too. We have to, well, when I was 12, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was focus on who you want to be, how you want to be. And for me, that simplified and clarified a lot of where I was headed. And like I said, I didn't figure a whole lot of things out till I was in my late 30s, early 40s. But I feel like I had a lot of recovery work to do from childhood. And not saying all experiences were bad or negative. I'm just saying most of us have some recovery work to do.
I
Uh,
love that. Yes, I love that. And as Tammy is, when she spoke about the kitchen sink, it like literally brought me back. There was two things, and I know one of them came from my dad. I'm not quite sure if the second part came from my dad or somebody else, but my dad part is every morning get up and make your bed. And like I said, I don't know where the next part comes from. Always make sure by the end of the day, before you go to bed, your kitchen sink is empty. And those are the two things that I myself make sure gets done. That I make my bed in the morning, whatever my time morning is. I mean, because morning for me could be different, not the average person's morning. And by the end of my night, there's no dishes in my sink. So this way here, those two areas I have accomplished a task in those two areas for one reason or another. So I'm loving that. Now, in regards to Tammy's topic that she will be speaking on February 16th, which by the way, people, she'll be speaking at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. So put that on your calendar so you don't miss it. Her topic is, what kind of life do you want to create? Remember, you are the one creating your life. No one else creates your life. So if there's something going on in your life that you're not liking, go ahead and change it because you're the one creating it. Using your experience to fuel change. So with that title, Tammy, what would you like the audience, when they're with us that day or watching on the replay, what would you like them to take away from your talk that you'll have?
Primarily the idea that you don't have to repeat what you have learned so far, and that you can use what might be perceived as a negative to fuel change, your family's change, whatever it is you're looking to do differently. You can do that by choosing different paths, by changing how you think and what you're thinking about, and just using it as fuel. I know a lot of times for me, anger is fuel, and it's not, I don't use it in a destructive way. It's usually a fuel for me to say, hey, this is not working and I need to do something different. So just really recognizing that your past does not have to be your future, and you can make changes and shift that for yourself. And I love the idea that when you are fixing, I don't know, I want to say fixing, but when you're changing you, transforming you, you're also transforming the history, and you are healing generational trauma frequently by changing your path. And that, for me, just that idea of that has been super healing and encourages me on the days when I just want to say, forget it. I'm moving to the beach and I'm going off grid forever. Um, yeah, just knowing that you can choose a different path
Love that.
is
Love that. Yes, and I love your topic. I do believe that is going to be a very inspiring topic because, again, it reminds us that we are empowered to change and create the life that we choose to change, to have, and that we do not have to have a life that our parents thought we should have had or society thought we should have had, and that we can literally do it on ourselves and using our own experience to fuel that change to come in. So thank you, Tammy, with all of that. So Tammy, for our audience, your email is showing across the board, which is homesareforliving@gmail.com. You have a podcast, correctly?
Yes, I do. It's called the Hoarding Solution Podcast, and you can find a link to that on my website, thehoardingsolution.com, and you can find it on Spotify as well. And
And you also have Instagram, correct?
yes, I'm on Instagram at the Hoarding Solution, also TikTok at the Hoarding Solution 1, and I'm on Facebook and Twitter. I think I'm at Ask Tammy 16 on Twitter, or I guess it's X now. Sorry. Um,
Good.
and yeah, I'm happy to connect with people. I'm happy to help people understand they aren't alone on this journey, and it's been super valuable to me over the past few years connecting with other people who are heart centered and want to see a positive impact in the world.
Yes, yes, I love that. So you have all of Tammy's channels where you can reach her at. Her emails across the board. So if you want to reach out to her, if you have questions, comments, you need her services, please, please, please go ahead and reach out to her. She's amazing at what she does. I get to witness it. As I said, that Tammy and I talk a lot behind the scenes. We're working together constantly, and it was a pure pleasure to sit here and chat with Tammy to learn about her on a more personal level and professionally as well. Tammy, I'm going to send you backstage just for a moment just to close out, and don't go away when I do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so there you have it. Now, we were a little longer than usual only because we did have some technical difficulties getting on, and that's all good. Imagine Mercury's not even in retrograde. However, Mercury is in Aquarius, and I think that plays a big role too. Anyway, for those of you who will be watching this on a replay, know that I have been spotlighting the speakers from the Cosmic Evolution Summit. We have one more speaker to go. That spotlight will take place next Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with Miss Kitty Frost. She and I will be talking about her journey as well. So please go ahead, mark that on your calendar, 7 p.m. Eastern Time next Saturday, which I believe, let me pull up my calendar, happens to be the 15th of February, 2 days, a day after Valentine's. So, hey, we'll expand that love on over. And then, of course, as mentioned, February 16th, 2025, I will have all the speakers on 10:30 a.m. through 7 p.m. Eastern Time, where they will be sharing their talks with you. By the way, if you go to my private group, Cosmic Evolution Summit, I had to think about what the name was, you will actually catch Linda Boney's talk there because unfortunately for her, she will be traveling. Unfortunately for us, she won't be with us on the day of the summit. So you can go and listen to her talk there because she's already shared it out. So please, by all means, do so. And last but not least, on February 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, all the speakers, all 6 of them, plus myself, will come together and have a panel discussion about what took place for each and every one of the speakers. I always find that there's a word or two that each speaker ends up saying, and they don't even realize they're saying the same thing because it really is a unity that comes together. So again, the panel discussion will take place February 22nd, which is a Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Come join us. One last thing for the summit on February 16th that will be available here on Facebook, and it's Zoom. So if you would like to actually get hands-on experience with each and every one of the speakers, you can join us in the Zoom room. However, the link will not be available anywhere. You will have to reach out to either myself or any of the speakers to get the Zoom link. That's the only way you're going to be invited into the Zoom room. The Zoom link will be available just that way. We would love to have you join us for the day or come for the hour, whatever it is, on February 16th. Everything else, we will be right out there. Everything is live, and then everything falls into the replay. So all that being said, I'd like to thank everybody who is popping in and out, joining me today. Until we meet again next week. Bye-bye for now.